Welcome to the Tears Foundation's podcast, where we talk about everything related to healing after a pregnancy, infant, or child loss. Come with us on a journey to talk with people from across the world who share their stories of grief, love, and hope. Welcome to the Tears Foundation's podcast, where we talk about everything related to healing after a pregnancy, infant, or child loss. And today I have very special guests with me today, Devin and Michelle McCourty. Welcome. You guys want to share a little bit who you are and what brings you to talk to me today about your loss?
You want me to start?
You can start.
So like you said, I'm Devin. This is my wife, Michelle. We've been married now 6 years. And I guess one of the biggest reasons we're here is my career playing, for the New England Patriots. I'm in my 13th year in the NFL, 13 years on the Patriots. And, I think for us, the reason we're here is like we were talking about before we jumped on, is we experienced something that I don't think we would have got through without so many people reaching out to us, telling us stories similar, telling us they're praying for us. So back in 2020, expecting our third child, we had a stillborn on May 24th of 2020. And her name was Mia. A bright light. I think, one of the things that we kind of looked forward to after already having 2 kids, a girl and a boy. We were excited. This pregnancy, we didn't know the sex. So a lot of excitement going in. And, I think like many people who will watch this, just a very, very low of getting that news and going through the process, which I'm sure we'll get into. But that's just kind of, I would say, an introduction to what brought us here and what really brought us to the Tears Foundation.
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about Mia and your pregnancy. You said a little bit about the excitement about having a girl, and how did you pick her name? Tell us a little bit more about your daughter.
We actually didn't know she was a girl until I delivered her.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, until we were in the hospital. We found out before. But yeah, it was supposed to be the tiebreaker, so we didn't find out. Yeah. And Mia was almost our first daughter's name. There was a very short list of names that we liked, that we both liked at the same time. So we kind of knew if it was a girl, that would be her name. If it was a boy, that was the one we struggled with because we couldn't agree on boy names. So I actually was hoping it was a girl. So yeah, and so we didn't know it was a Mia until she was out. So.
And I would just add, one of the things that was different, our first 2 kids, we timed up perfectly. Our daughter London was born in March. Our son Braden was born in April. And that was right in the off season where dad was always home. Only thing I did was work out. It wasn't in season. And, we were kind of close with this one of, being March, April, and then May or June is really supposed to be. But that was always nerve-wracking for us because we knew we would have June and then training camp would be in July. So we were kind of getting ready to, well, really her getting ready to face 3 kids. At that time would have been under 3, under 4.
It would have been 3 and under.
Yeah, 3 kids under 3. And I really would have been gone probably 12 hours out of the day, starting the end of July. So it was a different experience for us from that end.
Yeah. Well, tell us what the experience of losing Mia was like, and how did you begin to heal? What was that process like for you guys? How did you continue to get up every day? And, you're in the limelight, you're in a big career, and you're at home and you have other kids. How do you keep going? How do you heal?
I think you should tell her from a mom's standpoint.
So actually when it happened, we were in the middle of the pandemic. It was 2020, so everything was already shut down for like 2.5 months, I think, by then. So we were just at home. It was just home and Zooms and phone. It was, we weren't seeing anybody, just to keep everyone safe. And then when it happened, it was rough because of the pandemic too. They almost didn't let him come in with the delivery. I mean, with the delivery room and everything, the traditional, the dad comes and stuff. It was a whole thing. But because of the circumstances, they bent some rules and they let him, sit with me and, be there for the process. So I think it made everything worse and better at the same time because the world was already shut down. So all we could do was focus on that. And so that kind of took a toll because all you were thinking about, all you were doing was that, you weren't really seeing people. And then the way we grieve is different. It's actually opposite. Because when we went home, he likes to be around people, to kind of comfort him, I think, and just to not be lonely. I think that was his, so we broke our rules and we had the grandparents over, like my parents, his mom, his family. They would come to the house. They would help with the kids. Me, I was the complete opposite. I was upstairs in my room, lights off, blinds shut, dark, crying, Oh. Thought I could get through this. For me, it was hard too because we already had the two kids, so I almost felt like helpless. I couldn't. It was like not that I didn't want to take care of them, but I felt like I just couldn't. So luckily, his grief was better in that way because at least he could be with them, and his mom could be with them, my parents could be with them, and I just could be by myself. So it kind of worked out in that way, or else our poor kids would just be running around downstairs by themselves because I was a mess and I didn't want them to see me like that either. And they were still so young, so they couldn't really understand what had happened. I don't even think we told them right away, right?
Yeah.
We kind of waited a little bit just until everybody could be able to talk without bursting into tears. So we don't want them to see that. So it was a tough first couple weeks. So yeah.
It's a tough.
Mom was sick upstairs, so.
I know I started tears because my son was stillborn. So I can relate to what you're saying, Michelle, as far as that early grief where I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want to see anybody and shutting everybody out. It was just too much. It was too overwhelming. But again, like everybody grieves different. And that's something I wanted to talk to you guys about, was the way that men and women grieve differently, because we see that a lot. We help families all over the country with the Tears Foundation, and sometimes the dads feel a little forgotten because they're the strong one and they're handling things, but also like men and women just grieve differently, and understanding that a lot of us, as when we're young parents and we lose our baby, and then we don't know what grief is supposed to look like in this scenario. Like, no one thinks they're going to be burying their baby. So now we're in the situation, or are we doing this right? Like, why is he acting like that and I'm acting like this? I think there's, it sometimes causes issues in relationships. But how was it for you guys? You talked a little bit about it. Like, how did you come to terms with how you grieve differently? What would you say to like other couples out there that might be struggling who have also lost a baby?
Yeah, I really connected what you just said. I think because um, I think one of the biggest things is as women, you always dream of, your pregnancy and all those things. And as men, you always just think of having a baby. Like, I'm gonna have a baby one day. Most of us, I'm gonna have a son. The process you don't ever really consider. You don't think about those things. And I would say one interesting thing that started for us was even the night before, like she had a feeling like she was touching her belly. She was like, I don't know, I don't feel like the baby's moving. And then the very next day she goes to the hospital and we find out. So from the beginning, I always knew like there was a sense for her that I just wasn't gonna have. And I never wanted to try to fake that and make it, feel like that. Like I was lost when we got the news. Like I didn't know how to react. I didn't know what to do. And I'm very fortunate. I'm a twin, so I have a very close relationship with my brother, and I have two friends that were teammates at the time that we started a group chat. And I remember the night before we had to deliver, I was just like, man, I don't know. I don't know if I can do this. Like we had already done it twice where you go to the hospital and you go home with your baby. And I still remember having Mia, and the nurse comes to us and she goes, I'm going to give you guys some time. And she had talked to us before and was like, couples come in and, we tell them to take some time with the baby, and some just say they can't, but most regret if they don't take time with the baby. And I don't think we knew what that meant until Mia was here, and the opportunity to be with her. And, for me, that was awesome because there was a moment in time that I think for both of us, we forgot the circumstances we were in. And you get lost in that you just had another baby. And I was ready to go home. I was ready to get the car seat. And I think that was probably one of the things that hurt me the most, of like snapping back to reality and realizing like, man, like we're not going to be able to do that. And I would say from my grieving process, I felt a lot of guilt because once the season started, we were, like she said, we were in the pandemic. I got to go to football every day. And as hard as it was, I got to, for call it 8 to 10 to 12 hours out of the day, I got to be someone that I always got to be. I got to be a team captain. I got to be a teammate. I got to be a safety on the New England Patriots that didn't have to do with, me as a father or a loss. And for me, like I remember the first game almost being in the tears because of the quiet moments in that game. But I also remember being able to just escape some of the reality that, we were dealing with. And I know how big that was for me, but the guilt came as my wife didn't have that. And there was no way. She couldn't go be a football player. She couldn't go pick up a hobby out of nowhere that was going to do that. But it was easier for me to play and not have to deal with the questions of not playing. And ultimately, it ended up being great for me. But I would say one of the key things for, I think, both of us grieving was our kids. Once we told our daughter, she would pray at night. She would randomly throughout the day say, I can't wait to meet Mia someday. And I think her, and I don't know, like, because she's a girl and she's gonna have a little sister. She just always to this day seems to have a connection that I don't feel like any of us have, that is just like almost separate to her and her sister. Of like, I mean, the most random time out of the day.
Yeah, she brought her up.
Yeah, like, and you just
in the car. Yeah.
you just don't. And I would say even at the times when we were still in tears, she would bring her up and like it would just make you smile because you knew that not only did she exist, But her memory and her life and her legacy would live on through her older sister, that she never really even got to meet, but her older sister knew her so well. Still brings me joy. And when I think about it, I still smile, to this day.
In a very innocent way too,
Yeah.
but a joyous innocent way, not a sad, always sad, innocent way. Today we were in the car coming back from school, and they were talking about like the birthday orders, the months. So it was like, oh, I'm first, I'm in March, and then mommy's next. She's a week after me. And then Braden's next. And we were like, oh, so daddy's last. And she's like, wait, no, Mia is after Braden, and then daddy, and then Chase, and then daddy. So like she, I didn't even think to mention her, but she said it out of the three kids and then us two, but then she added in Mia. So it's just funny that she thinks of her like often, she'll randomly bring her up. And it feels good though, because the moments where you almost feel bad that you don't mention them, but you're like, she's gonna mention her for us.
I love that. I have, after my son died, I have 2 daughters, and so they kind of came after, but obviously they've grown up like knowing about their brother. And I think that's something that maybe people that haven't lost a baby might find that hard to understand, that we continue to talk about him and we honor his life. And it would have been his birthday in November. So my daughters know, like, hey, we're singing happy birthday to Jesse. We got him a cake. And everyone does stuff differently, but that's what we do.
Mhm.
And I think that's precious that your daughter remembers her sister and brings her up in the family. I think that's amazing. And so how did you guys cope with the difference of you had a distraction, right? You had something that was your passion you could go do and kind of step away from the heaviness of the loss, and you were at home and you have that. How did you come together with that? Just for other people that maybe are in a similar situation and the dad goes to work and mom is home, and how do you as a couple come through it together in a healthy way?
Um, I still don't even know how he did it, because going back to when it first happened, all his meetings during they have OTAs, which is like off-season training. It moved to virtual, right? So they all had virtual meetings instead of going to Foxborough, doing the whole training thing. And he at first didn't tell anybody, or maybe just one I don't know. I don't even think he told anybody. Yeah, because he just didn't want to talk about it. So he was sitting in meetings every day for hours. And I was just in awe, because I was like, how are you I was a wreck. Every moment that I even thought about it, which was often, so close to the time, it was like I would just break down in tears over and over again. And then I'm watching him on Zoom and I'm like, how are you even functioning right now? Like I feel it kind of worked, I think, because it
Balance each other.
with his way of grief, you know what I mean? Like his way, not to say he wanted to work, but I'm just saying him being around, just talking to people, I think he was able to keep his mind off of it. Whereas me, I don't think I would want the responsibility of going to work, of talking to people, because I knew at every second of whatever moment I thought about her, I would be breaking down. And so I didn't want to be around people. I didn't want to talk to people. So it kind of worked, it kind of worked, I guess, to our benefit. I got to keep to myself, like, and be away. And maybe being my thoughts wasn't the best, but, at least I felt like I was pouring out what I needed to pour out. And he was getting his mind off of it, So I don't know if that was good or bad, but
And,
it kind of worked,
and
right?
then I think there were a lot of nights that we just prayed together.
Yeah.
Like we didn't say like you go your way, I
Yeah.
go my way. Like there were just so many nights where I just grabbed her hand. And like for me, something that's big for me is like I listen to a lot of sermons and I listen to different audiobooks. And at the time that we lost Mia, the pastor that I listened to lost his mom. And he came back and he said one of the reasons he came back because he understood that like you don't get over this, but you just pick up your tears and you take your tears with you. So there was so many times like talking to my close friends, I would just break down and cry. But I knew I needed that. Like I knew to be the husband and father that I wanted to be, like I needed to be able to go and talk to my close friends and, let some off my heart that, might have been weighing me down so that I can also be, be what she needed. And I think one of the biggest things that we learned was like if she listened to a song that reminded her of me, or she would send it to me. If I read something, I would send it to her. We would talk about it. And I just knew from, again, the amount of people that reached out to us, like they just kept saying, don't hold things inside, continue to lean on each other, continue to talk to each other. And that's what we try to do. And, I really think back to like how so many people, like people I had no idea, like people who were, in the media that were like colleagues reached out and was like, I had 4 miscarriages and like my sons still talk about their brothers and sisters in heaven. And like that just gave me so much, I think, light going forward that I just knew like, all right, like we're gonna be okay. Like our family's not broken. Like because at times you felt like that. We just felt like we would never be the same. And you're not, but that doesn't have to be like the most negative thing. I think one of the special moments we had in 2020 was with My Cause, My Cleats. I picked the Tears Foundation and had these cleats made with wings on them and a rainbow. And I just remember like feeling like, man, I'm gonna do something that's gonna be positive in this game. That's gonna be like a big play. And I scoop up a block kick and score. And like all I could think about back home was like I'm wearing these pink cleats running down the field. And like I just knew like my wife, my kids, like they had to have that feeling of like our angels up there smiling, like making sure she was present. And I thought like that was just incredible. And we both Christians and don't hold back. Like I really felt like that was God letting us know, like, hey, I know you're in the fire, I know you're in it, but don't ever forget, like I'm here with you. Like I'm never gonna leave you. And that was a special moment, I know, for us.
That's amazing. That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. So, what do you do now to honor Mia's life? What types of things do you do?
We on her birthday every year, whoever's in town, family wise, really I would say our original kind of rat pack of her mom and dad and her sister, my mom, my brother, his kids, and my aunt. We let balloons in the air, and each person writes a message to send to Mia on the balloon and tapes it to the balloon. We're trying to find a more environmental safety way. People have let us know, but that year of because of COVID, not being able to do anything, turned into a tradition for us, turned into something that was special, I think, for our whole family, that the kids know about, like everyone knows about, and it's what we do every year. And someone also got us like this, I don't know what to call it, like not an action figure, it's like sculpture of 2 parents and 3 kids. And one kid has a little rainbow bow on that we keep, in the house.
The halo,
Yeah.
angel wings on the back.
That we keep in the house that I would say is very special. We had to keep our kids from stopping to pick it up and break it. But yeah, each year on May 24th, we make sure we send balloons and we say happy birthday to our angel.
One of their cousins, what do you say, Kaden? He was like, "Oh, is Mia gonna is Mia gonna catch the balloons in the sky?" It was just very, like that very innocent kid way of seeing things, because they don't know death, per se. They kind of know it, but not too much. So, it was a cute, it was a cute way for them to see that.
And now, what is life like for the McCourtys? You guys have had another baby. That's not quite a baby anymore, right?
Yeah. I will say for a lot of couples, like it's scary going back, and I think the mentalities can be different. And I know for her, as soon as she got to like a good point, like it was just like I want to have another kid. I want to have another kid. And I feel like that's why like there's a partnership. And I remember sitting her down and telling her like I don't want to have another kid. Like, and I didn't want to sound harsh, but I told her I don't want to have another kid if you can't get to a point where you can enjoy being pregnant. And I was like, I don't know how long that takes. I don't know what we have to do. But I told her, I said, we had 2 pregnancies that, again, it's a man speaking. So I hate when I say they were great because I didn't hold the baby. But I just think about, all of the moments, all of the things, like the excitement we had a girl first and then we having a boy. And like, I just remember that feeling and I didn't want to lose that because I knew losing that would make the pregnancy even harder. And I would tell parents to just go through that process of whatever you need to do. And I think each person's different, each couple's different. But whatever you need to do to make sure that pregnancy is special. And, I think especially for us, having 2 other kids already, they're fully included in your pregnancies. They know that we went to the hospital with Mia and mommy had a belly and then mommy didn't have a belly and then we didn't have a baby. So like they know that and you can't hide that from them. And I think having Chase was so special because we encourage, not encouraged, but we took it on that he was going to be the rainbow baby, that we were still hurt. We were a little scared. Like it was just so many feelings that we didn't try to suppress. We just very openly, we talked about it. We did a maternity shoot with rainbow socks and the same sneakers. Like we try to be very open.
Gender reveal.
Yeah, gender reveal. Like I knew that I didn't want to live in this world where she wore baggy clothes, for the whole time, and then at the end where we thought it was safe because we thought that like we thought we were safe. And like you're never safe. We're at the mercy of whatever happens. But I remember telling her if we truly feel that God has a plan, then we need to enjoy and embrace and cherish every moment of that plan, no matter how hard it is, no matter what we think. I told her, I said, let's just enjoy it. And that's the reason why this kid probably smiles every chance he gets. He's like that child that, if we FaceTime my twin brother, he's dad, and he's just smiling. And he's probably the happiest baby we had. And I think it was hard for us to envision that in 2020 that we would be able to share such a special moment and to be as happy as we were, literally like a year later.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned, I had a daughter after my son died, and I know it changes you. Like it changes it changes you as a person, but any further pregnancies, you never have that naive glow of I'm pregnant, we got to this point, and now we're gonna have a baby. I mean, you realize the frailty of life.
Hmm.
And I think even now with my living children, just life in general, appreciating, not that I didn't appreciate it before, but I think it just gives you that extra sensitivity to appreciating every moment. Like you were saying, appreciating the pregnancy, you did a gender reveal, you took it all in and embraced all of it. Right.
Well, we hid it for a long time before that gender reveal. Not from family, but like from everyone. Just for the sake of we just didn't want to talk. Well, I didn't want to talk about it, but
Well, and because when we lost Mia, because I play football, like a lot of people
yeah,
knew
yeah,
we were pregnant. Like we put out a statement, not because we wanted to, but like
yeah,
it was well known that I was expecting my 3rd kid.
yeah.
And I think that part of it, the public display part of it, we didn't want to have to deal with, but
Yeah,
like our family and friends did.
I know. And even with her, we didn't announce until like much later. That was in the middle of the pandemic. Remember, we just
Mhm.
didn't. I just popped up pregnant all of a sudden, with like with a big belly. I'm in the medical field too, so I always have anxiety when it comes to pregnancy and stuff. I've seen a lot of stuff. I've seen a lot of bad things. I've seen stillbirths. I've seen, really bad things. And in the back of your mind, like every pregnancy, I've always been a nervous wreck that's like my baseline. So after what happened with Mia, it was just, escalated
Yeah.
a million times more. So I had to try. I mean, he told me too, like you have to try to find a way to like be happy. You know what I mean? Like to actually show yourself that you are still happy about it instead of just be super stressed the whole time, because like you just don't want that. Also, there's already enough stress as it is being pregnant, and then just to have that in the back of your mind at all times, it's not really how you want to continue the next 10 months. So
How
so
were
I
you?
took that, you know what I mean?
How were you able to do that in your rainbow pregnancy?
Um, a lot of prayer. um, well, I know for me, and this could be different for everyone, but like he said, like I wanted to be pregnant right away. There was no question in my mind. But he was just worried for me that was going to be, this is not going to replace her, that kind of thing. And so I was battling that, in between too. So every time I got my period, I would break down. Like it was a whole, I was like, what's wrong with me? I can't get pregnant anymore. It was, and mind you, I think it ended up only being like 4 months maybe, but those were the worst 4 months ever, because every period it was just so devastating to me that I was like, oh my God, I'm not, you know what I mean? Like I'm not, what if I can't do it anymore? Blah, blah. I went to the doctor, I got all these tests done. It was like a whole thing. I was like, what's wrong with us? I think there was a COVID scare actually for the team. When we ended up conceiving, we weren't supposed to even be in the same room because he was supposed to be in like a hotel or something, and I was ovulating. I was like, no, we have to, it became one of those, awkward, like, oh my God, it's by now it's calendar, it was, if people who struggle with fertility, they know when you start clocking the ovulation and you're looking at the hormone levels and all this stuff, and like, okay, now we gotta go. And it takes, it takes that joy out of the process of it. Now it becomes more stressful. And I was like, dang, I should probably chill out a little bit, because I don't want it to not, want it either. But that was just funny, because then it ended up that we ended up getting pregnant because of that. But that was funny. That was our little humor about how Chase came. I risked COVID for Chase. So because we weren't supposed to even be around each other. But yeah, I kind of, I think I needed my doctor's opinion on it. She told me, she was like, look, you're a woman of faith. You have to just take it to God, and whatever is meant to be is going to be. Like, we can run a billion tests if you want and just make you feel better, but chances are it's not going to happen again. And she was like, you just don't want to put that energy into your pregnancy either. So I kind of took the two people that I would care about for the advice of this pregnancy to heart. And I just tried to start enjoying it and not be as fearful. I was fearful, but I was trying not to be like neurotic about it, basically, because I didn't want that to be the outcome of like sadness. It was joyful, I was happy that I was finally pregnant. I mean, all those other months I wasn't pregnant, I was devastated. So the fact that it was happening, I was really happy about it. And so I wanted to show that I was happy about it, even though we didn't announce it until like way, way, way later, obviously. But yeah, I kind of, you just have to internalize the advice, I think, and just a lot of prayer. I think it was a lot of prayer.
I was always a friendly reminder to enjoy.
Yeah.
Like if she just looked like
Yeah.
she was stressed about something, I would, I would say something or do something or send. I would always send her things that I read, like continuously to send her things. Or if I heard a story, if someone reached out, like my Instagram would be like so many people like just reaching out, and I would screenshot it and send it to her. But again, like we had so many people tell us like what you just said, like I had a kid after, like that was my first child. We have 5 kids now. Like, it was just so many of those stories. And I would just try to continue to send all the good things, all the like positivity, all of the people that she could see, like, hey, it's not just my husband telling me stuff to feel good. Like, listen, these are people that I don't know. Like, they don't know me, I don't know them, but they're taking time out of their day to write uh, 3 paragraphs of like this long message. And I was just like, if someone would be willing to do that just to help your day out, I was just like, maybe it's meant to be that you should be happy. And I would send that to her, something like that. And I think you need that. I think there's times for me as a person that like I'm stuck in my own ways, like especially football wise. And for my whole career, like she's been that person that, at times is a punching bag, at times is someone that sits there and holds my hand and leads me through things. So for me, it was my opportunity to kind of be that for her, what she does so often for me.
I love that. And I think that just goes back to the importance of anyone that's listening having a good support system. And because you guys were a great support system for each other, and then you had community around you. But for a lot of people maybe that are listening, they don't feel like they have that. And that's why the Tears Foundation is here too. So we want them to know that maybe you don't feel like you have that good of a support system. You can always reach out to us. We have a connection of other bereaved parents who have gone through similar things across the United States and even internationally. And we're here to walk alongside you. You don't have to do this alone. Um, we'll be there every step of the way. So we want people to know that part of the healing, which it sounds like from all the things you guys have shared, has just been having that support and like the respect you guys have for each other, the support you've given each other, communicating, and all of that. And for those that don't have it, contact us at the Tears Foundation and we will absolutely be there for you. And before we wrap things up, we covered a lot of stuff, which is amazing. I really appreciate you guys talking about couples and your story and having a rainbow baby and that whole experience and how you honor your daughter now. What would you say to any other bereaved parent that's listening to this today and they just don't know how they're going to get up in the morning and how they're going to survive the loss of their baby? What would you say to them?
Well, first I would say you have to talk to at least someone about it because you have to externalize what is going on inside. Even if you don't want to, even if you're just gonna cry the whole time, like me, you have to release it. You have to get it out. It can't just be thoughts in your mind. It has to come out somehow to someone, like if they have to contact tears just to talk about it. It's interesting when you hear so many people that have gone through something similar, it almost, I don't know, and they don't ever even have to say that they had a kid after, but it's almost like this glimmer of hope that it gives you that life will go on and that there's still good that can happen to you or that you can appreciate what you do already have. Like if we didn't have Chase, we still had 2 healthy kids to come home to. And so like when you lost yours, you didn't have it. So like there's always some kind of positivity to come, out of that situation that you have to just hang on to. You have to, and it's going to be your glimmer of hope. It's going to be something that pushes you forward, something that you need to keep going. You have to just find, well, for us, faith was huge for us. And I actually lost faith when it first happened because I was so angry. Like it was unbelievable. So for me to turn it around and then to now lean on my faith to move forward was huge for me because that's something that's hard to do when you were like, oh my God, I just got betrayed. You know what I mean? That's how you feel. But when you start appreciating the people around you, what you do have, what you could have, if you want to think of it that way, that's just something that again, speaking to someone, anyone, those are the things that help you, because you need another perspective. It can't just be the sadness that's going on in your mind, because then there's never going to be an introduction to what can be better for you moving forward. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just keep it in and then have nothing else coming in. When we started hearing stories of it happening, it's like that club that you don't want to be part of, but you're almost happy to have people part of it. Not that they're happy that it happened to them, but you're happy to know that you're not alone. Like, you're just not alone. And I think Tears, that is what's great about the foundation, is because there's so many common stories that people were able to move on from. Though I think that's what's more important about it. You help during the grieving process, but it gives you that hope for the future, that life will go on, life will get better. You're going to come to a point, not for me today, but like, you're going to come to a point. I never thought I could come to the point where I could talk about it and not just burst into tears. Today was an exception, but but there's been, I don't know how long that took a while, but I didn't think I would ever get to that point, that I would be able to speak about it without just, you know what I mean, like tearing up and just being quiet, because now all I'm going to do is just cry, cry, cry. Now I can actually tell people some stories about it without doing that. Now, of course, there's always the random moments, where a song will come on and I'll just get emotional. But for the most part, I'm able to talk about it and share the story without breaking down, and to know that other people were able to do that for me to do that now for other people, I know that I could at least help them with whatever they're going through, because it did help us. And you don't want to say that, but hearing other people that went through it does help. I don't know what it is about that. Maybe it's just like this community that, that happens that nobody brags about, obviously, but it helps. Yeah. I think when we had it a couple months later, John Legend and Chrissy Teigen lost their baby, and it was very close in time, and there was another person on Instagram who also they didn't have a stillbirth, but they had a miscarriage, maybe like either right before, and she actually ended up writing a song about it, and we shared the song together, and it was just this weird, connection to people that you don't want, but at the same time, it helps, because it helps knowing that they are moving forward. It's going to help you move forward. And yeah, you have to lean on people. You do. And you can't just keep it inside. Like, you cannot keep it inside. I think that's probably one of the most dangerous things. At least someone like me, who already doesn't want to talk about it, like, that would have been bad for me, because my thoughts would just be way too negative and way too sad. And you know what I mean? I would have become depressed. I wouldn't be able to take care of my kids. Like, I had other responsibilities that I had to allow myself to heal in order to take care of my other kids that I did have, you know what I mean? So, and that's something that kept me going too, because I knew that they're still depending on me. So I can't just be a wreck all the time, all the time, So
that's so beautifully said, how you said that. Cause I mean, our grief, all of that stuff is on the inside. And for us to heal, we have to mourn, and mourning is getting it onto the outside, whatever that is for, maybe a man doesn't want to sit and talk about it, but he's going to go out and do something, and that's him getting it out. Or maybe like you and me, we just share our story over and over. We keep sharing our story, and you got to find those safe people that you can talk to, that don't mind hearing your same story and hearing about your daughter, hearing about my son. And that's how I was able to heal too, was to find my tribe, my safe people that I could talk to, and would listen to me and never judge me, and let me feel what I needed to feel and say what I needed to say. So I agree. I think that you said that very, very beautifully. What about you, Devin? What would you say?
I think what she said, I think one of the biggest things is being in it. Like when she said, I did lose faith, and I think that's real. I think sometimes when we go through tough things, we try to not become how we feel, and we try to resist it. But I think it's important to go through the process of being angry, being sad, at times being happy, because your kids might run it. Like, you're going to be on a roller coaster, and I just think you got to take that ride. You can't just try to continue to fight it and fight it. And I think, like she said, the last part I think is the biggest thing, is you got to find people, looking up and seeing the Tears Foundation and seeing that there were like other people that have went through this, and and like you said, empathy loss it's a wide spectrum of things. There's so many different things. And just to say, I think as people, we want, and our soul wants to link to community. And I know, like, we sit here and we say, like Michelle said, like, it's something you don't want to be a part of, but to be a part of something, I think makes our heart smile, to look around and say, I'm not alone, to look around and say, man, there's somebody just like me, to look around and say, man, like, this person's going to pray for me. This person's going to be there. This person's going to talk to me. This person understands me and my story. I think that sense of community, I would tell people to find, even if you feel like, I can't talk right now, I can't do anything, even if it's emailing the Tears Foundation, like, I just lost my baby, I'm down bad. And someone might say, call me when you can. And I think to know that that's sitting there waiting for you, that sense of community, that sense of, for me as an athlete, team, having somebody that when I can't do it, they can do it. They can do my share, and get us by and help us win the day. I would say is the biggest thing. And don't hold it inside. And I think, as hard and as crazy and simple as this sounds, the one way that you wake up is by just waking up. And when you wake up, don't put goals of, today I'm going to go talk to somebody. Today I'm going to go out of my house. Like, don't set goals. Just first and foremost, wake up. And each day that you look up and you woke up, it'll start to move. It'll start to, things will start to happen in a positive direction. And, I think sometimes the hardest thing is just getting up. So I would encourage anybody who is in a tough spot, your first step is just get up, get up and go on and be up and be active and just see what else God has planned for you by just waking up.
That's so good. Sometimes just one moment at a time, not even an
Yeah.
hour. Sometimes you just get through the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes all you can do is just breathe.
Yep.
And
So true.
you're not alone. So I thank you guys again for taking the time and for being vulnerable and sharing your story and so much wisdom and insight that I think will be helpful to everyone that's listening. And again, if you are listening and you need support, we're here. And when you're ready, you can contact us. You can find us on Instagram at Tears Foundation, Facebook at Tears Foundation, or thetearsfoundation.org. You can text us, call us, whatever is comfortable, email, whatever you're ready for. We just want you to know that we're here for the long haul for you, and you're not alone. You're not alone on the journey, and we get it. So thank you again, Devin and Michelle. And we remember Mia, and we thank you for sharing your story with us today.
We thank you guys for being there every step of the way.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you on the next episode.